The recent 2-episode premiere of Kenobi has ushered us into one of the most widely anticipated Disney Plus series to date, with the fan favorite character of Obi-Wan Kenobi returning to the big screen after more than a decade and a half. We are avidly awaiting the remainder of the series. Alongside Obi-Wan though, multiple fan favorite individuals make their resurgence after years of silence, and throughout the course of the first 2 episodes, the groundwork was laid for one of the most iconic cinematic rivalries to resume over the remainder of the series. We are talking of course about the rivalry between Obi-Wan Kenobi and none other than Lord Vader himself, which was teased in the closing moments of episode 2. While it was confirmed long ago that Kenobi and Vader would once again come to blows, this is the first hint of this rivalry unraveling in real time. Just preceding this, however, Reva, the third sister, reveals that Vader not only is alive and well, but that Vader was formerly known as Anakin Skywalker, to which Obi-Wan showcases a visceral emotional response. On the surface, this appears to be the first that Kenobi is learning of his Padawan's survival. But is it possible that there is actually something deeper going on here? And is this the true way that Obi-Wan actually learned of Darth Vader's survival? Or is this a retcon? While this is a powerful moment, it seems to expose a few inconsistencies regarding what Kenobi knew and when he knew it, especially if the encounter is to be taken at face value. So, today, weary acolytes of the galaxy, let's explore the full story of how Kenobi found out that Anakin Skywalker was still alive, what he knew about Darth Vader beforehand, and when he finally understood that the two were one and the same. Upon the commencement of Order 66 and the execution of the Jedi Order, Obi-Wan Kenobi alongside Master Yoda returned to the temple in order to assess the damage and save what remained of the Jedi. While there, they scoured through the security footage where Obi-Wan comes to learn the full truth of Anakin's fall to the darkness. He's not only seeing him kneel before the soon-to-be Emperor Lord Sidious, but he hears Anakin referred to by the name of Lord Vader. Again, these are events that take place in Revenge of the Sith roughly 10 years before the events of Obi-Wan. This is an important note to keep in mind. This means that Kenobi knew of Anakin's Sith moniker before the end of the Clone Wars, and before he would be encased in his iconic black armor. After this, his next encounter with Anakin took place on Mustafar, where the two had their iconic cinematic showdown that resulted in Anakin's dismemberment and near-death experience. Following this engagement in canon, Obi-Wan actually believed that Anakin died. However, this wouldn't remain the case for long. Although Obi-Wan wouldn't hear of Vader for long, Vader was actually a quite prominent figure among the Empire and even the public of the galaxy. The caveat is that Lord Vader was a public name and a widely feared individual even for the public of the galaxy. Given how Obi-Wan heard Anakin referred to as Darth Vader in Revenge of the Sith, his response in episode 2 of Obi-Wan is an interesting one, but we believe we have an answer to this. Another interesting note though is that Darth Vader in canon was actually featured in Imperial propaganda as a public image and a public figure, symbolizing the hand and the fist of the Empire and the Emperor's wrath. However, it's possible that Obi-Wan may have made a retcon here. Originally, Obi-Wan came to learn of Vader's existence while on Tatooine in a cantina. It was here for the first time in several years that Obi-Wan would hear the name Darth Vader and make the connection to the holomonitor that he saw all those years ago. If it is still considered to be canon, then this event would reframe this interaction with Reva. The encounter and subsequent revelation that Kenobi had with Reva on Daiyu might not necessarily be him learning of Vader's existence, and isn't the moment where he made the connection for the first time, but actually could hold more significant emotional importance for Obi-Wan. Instead though, this is likely the moment where Obi-Wan's worst fears are confirmed to him. Up until this point, he would have likely made the connection on his own, and he may have known in his gut the truth of Vader's identity was that of his former friend and battlefield partner, Anakin. But while he had all the necessary evidence to support this theory, he had yet to hear it confirmed to him outright, and may have held some hope that Anakin and Vader were two separate individuals entirely. This might have left him a little room for denial, or at least room to hope that it may be wrong. During the second episode of Obi-Wan, however, he would have finally received this confirmation from Reva, one of Vader's servants, bringing his worst fears to the surface and finally forcing him to face the dark truth of his reality. Anakin is alive. Until now, he might have lived with a certain sense of denial, with some latent hope that he was wrong, and maybe Anakin had truly died on Mustafar and Obi-Wan had made a mistake. After all, since he came to the conclusion on his own, then it's still likely that he could have made this mistake. He could have misheard the security recording or had a lapse in mental stability, or any number of other potential reasons to be wrong about Anakin. Upon hearing Reva confirm it, however, there was nowhere left for him to hide. At this moment, Obi-Wan might have finally been forced to face the truth that he couldn't escape any longer. This is the option that here on the channel I personally agree with so far. But we do want to explore another theory and option. The second option is that this scene in Obi-Wan decanonizes his previous revelation, but this too brings with it a particular set of intriguing questions. If this is the first he is learning of his Padawan's survival, then this is presumably the first time he is hearing the name Darth Vader, which seems to be incredibly unlikely. Although Kenobi has been living in the Outer Rim for the past 10 years, Episode 1 confirms that the population of Tatooine knows who the Inquisitors are and what their purpose is. If they have heard of the Inquisitors and are innately familiar with their objectives of hunting Jedi, then it's incredibly unlikely that Kenobi hasn't heard the name Darth Vader, or at least Vader, until now. And if he had, then he likely would have connected it to his former apprentice. However, the jump can be made that Vader will not venture to Tatooine, or at this point in time has not ventured to Tatooine, but it's still unlikely that no one has heard tales of this cybernetic monstrosity. This in the end seems to indicate that the first option is the more likely of the two, especially seeing as Palpatine and the Empire weren't keeping Vader a secret from the galaxy at large. If this is the case, then this encounter might mean that Kenobi is finally facing the cold fact that he knew deep down all along, that Anakin is still alive, and the dark, mechanical Jedi Butcher, the Butcher that had been traversing the galaxy for the last decade, was actually the shell of his former friend, and now there is nowhere left for Obi-Wan to hide from the truth, the full truth of his failure. But anyway, students of the Force, which interpretation of the scene do you agree with more? Do you think this is the first time Obi-Wan is learning of Anakin's survival, or do you think that this scene is Obi-Wan being forced to face his reality for the first time ever? Again, either option is completely possible, but I like the idea that through Obi-Wan cutting himself off from the Force momentarily, and him actively trying to hide this deep and down within his psyche has led him to not make the outright connection and confirmation that Vader and Anakin are the same. If you're interested in more stuff on Kenobi, I also made a video earlier today. That video outlines why exactly now Obi-Wan and Vader can sense each other when for the past 10 years they couldn't. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check it out. As always, my friends, may the Force be with you, and I hope that you have a great day.